stop scrolling. What if I told you that the deepest scars from your childhood aren't a burden, but the ultimate blueprint for building an absolutely unstoppable mind? What if the most brutal moments of your past, the humiliations, the beatings, the grinding poverty, what if those exact experiences hold the key to an unshakable mental toughness you didn't even know was possible? You see, none of us can control the circumstances we're born into or the world around us. Your country's economy, your family's struggles, these aren't things you chose. But here's the thing. You have goals, dreams, and a burning desire to achieve them. And all too often, those aspirations clash head-on with the challenges you faced, the upbringing you received, and the negative experiences that have shaped you into the person you are today. This isn't just a story. It's a mirror. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and unusual stories you'll ever hear. It's a narrative that resonates with almost everyone, though the details might differ. We're talking about the life of David Goggins, a man whose journey will force you to confront your own limitations and realize the immense power of mental toughness. His story is the living embodiment of what he wrote on his book's cover, Master Your Mind. David Goggins' story began on February 17th, 1975, in New York City. His father was a wealthy and prominent figure, owning an entertainment venue called Skateland. This wasn't just a business. It was his father. His father treated them not as family, but as disposable employees, subjecting them to cruel daily beatings. No one dared to argue. His wife was constantly humiliated, powerless to intervene. David's brother, though affected, seemed to internalize it differently, almost growing accustomed to the abuse. But David Goggins woke up every day hating his life. After long nights of work, David and his brother would try to sleep in a noisy back room, barely able to rest. The situation was compounded by their father's severe alcoholism, which only fueled his violence and kept him perpetually out of control. Skateland doubled as a bar, where Goggins' father would stay up all night, meeting all sorts of people. He would openly flirt with other women right in front of his wife, and if she even gave him a displeased look, a severe beating would follow. This chaotic lifestyle made it impossible for David to focus on his studies. Exhausted and sleep-deprived, he and his brother would drag themselves to school each morning, only to fall behind academically. He was severely delayed in his learning abilities, a direct consequence of his home life. But this wasn't just a bad childhood. It was a psychological battlefield, and it was about to get worse. The author's difficult life continued until he was almost 8. One day, after a particularly vicious public humiliation, David's mother reached her breaking point. She declared to her children, "If you want to come with me, we're leaving now, and I'm not coming back to this house again." His father mocked her, saying she was worthless without him, jobless and penniless. He threatened to replace her instantly, but his mother had hit the point of no return. She grabbed David and his brother, found refuge at a friend's house, and eventually moved to her hometown of Brazil, Indiana. There, the second phase of David Goggins' extraordinary life began. Arriving in Brazil, Indiana, David's mother had to re-enroll him in second grade because his reading level was so low. Thankfully, a dedicated teacher helped him catch up. But in third grade, without that crucial support, he couldn't keep pace with his peers. A different teacher insisted on placing him in a special needs class, deepening his feelings of helplessness and isolation. He developed a stutter and struggled to speak, while his mother resisted moving him to another school, exacerbating his speech problems and eroding his self-confidence. To survive academically, David Goggins resorted to cheating. He cheated on almost everything, passed his exams, and convinced his teachers he was improving, but it was just a shortcut. Socially, things weren't much better. His mother worked a low-wage job, and they lived in government-subsidized housing. She even had to creatively apply for social assistance under her own mother's name just to secure a meager $123 monthly check, barely enough to send David to school. On top of everything else, Brazil, Indiana was a hotbed of racism. Despite reading about figures like Malcolm X, David couldn't channel his rage and negativity into anything productive. Instead, he tried to attract attention by dressing strangely and cutting his hair in unusual ways, desperate to appear different. As the years passed, his only interest was playing on the school's basketball team. It was his anchor, the sole reason he continued cheating to stay in school. But then, due to his circumstances, he missed summer training. The coaches interpreted this as a lack of commitment, and he was cut from the team. He lost everything he loved, every shred of motivation to succeed. He was completely without a goal. He was adrift, lost in a sea of failure. But a tiny flicker of hope was about to appear. Years later, Goggins found inspiration in his grandfather, a proud Air Force veteran. David decided he wanted to join too, but first he had to pass an entrance exam. Naturally, his first thought was to cheat, a habit he'd relied on for years. But this time, it failed him. This was the moment everything began to shift. He finally confronted himself, admitting his life had been a string of failures, devoid of purpose. He committed to hard work, transforming himself, and successfully joined the Air Force. Yet even after this monumental effort, another harsh reality hit him at the end of his first year. His mother received a letter. If his grades and attendance didn't improve, he'd be out. This was his second crucial moment of accountability. He didn't just want to succeed, he wanted to excel. His specific goal was to become a pararescue man, the elite Air Force specialists who rescue downed pilots in war zones. This meant rigorous air skills and learning to swim, a seemingly impossible task for David, who had a crippling fear of water and zero swimming ability. During his swim training, Army doctors delivered a devastating blow. He had sickle cell trait, a condition that supposedly prevented him from strenuous aquatic activity. David thought his dream was over. But shortly after, the doctors reversed their decision, stating his condition wouldn't affect his swimming. The catch? The time he'd stopped meant he had to restart his pararescue training from scratch. Despite his newfound physical strength, David Goggins still had a massive problem: a lack of mental willpower. His fear of swimming, coupled with the daunting prospect of starting over, proved too much. He withdrew. This withdrawal plunged David into a level of frustration he'd never known. He channeled his negativity into comfort eating and lifting weights, gaining massive amounts of weight, a physical manifestation of his internal failure. He worked simple jobs, had no interest in self-development, and no motivating goal. He was back to square one, heavier and more defeated than ever. But a single TV show was about to ignite a firestorm. One day, David Goggins watched a TV documentary about the Navy SEALs. He saw their suffering, their struggles, their incredible self-challenge. It ignited something deep within him. He wanted to become a SEAL, but there was a massive hurdle: his weight. He was a staggering 135 kilograms, 297 pounds, and needed to drop below 95 kilograms, 209 pounds, to even qualify. On top of that, an impossibly difficult test awaited him. This was one of the hardest periods of his life. He felt the familiar dread of failure, the belief he couldn't succeed. But then, a crucial realization hit him. His mind was controlling him. He had let opportunities slip before, but this time, he refused to be lazy. He had to keep going. And so, David Goggins began an epic transformation. He shed all that weight, enduring extreme exhaustion that led to multiple leg fractures. After many, many attempts to apply, he finally passed the test and earned his place among the Navy SEALs. At this stage, David Goggins achieved a level of mental control that utterly reshaped his perspective. He went on to accomplish feats previously unheard of, completing over 60 ultra races, ultra marathons, and ultra triathlons, challenges far beyond normal human capacity. In 2013, he set a Guinness World Record by performing an astonishing 4,030 pull-ups in just 17 hours. In 2015, he conquered another fear, swimming over 80 miles in an 11-hour event. From David Goggins' incredible journey, we can extract 4 vital lessons: self-accountability, enduring hardship, visualizing success, and a transformed perspective on failure. First, to effectively confront the obstacles in your life, you must rigorously evaluate the circumstances that shaped you, both past and present. The author suggests starting a journaling process where you document your difficult life experiences. Ask yourself critical questions. What challenges did you face growing up? Did you grow up without major challenges, thus failing to learn how to step out of your comfort zone? And what challenges are you currently facing? The second tool for self-accountability is what Goggins calls the accountability mirror. This involves breaking down your grand goals and dreams into small, manageable steps. Look at what you want to achieve. Then use sticky notes to identify specific points of focus for each step. Then relentlessly follow your plan day by day. To master the art of enduring hardship, you need 2 things. First, you must override your internal governor. Just like a car has a regulator that limits its speed, humans have a mental governor. This governor dictates our reactions, makes us feel pain and insecurity, and often encourages us to quit. To override it, you must consciously push past what you think your limits are. If you can run for 15 minutes, push for 17. That small, incremental increase gradually expands your capacity. This leads us to the second principle for enduring hardship: the cookie jar. Everyone needs something to motivate them, a personal cookie jar of achievements. Goggins suggests using your journal to document your most significant victories, surpassing work goals, achieving personal milestones, and, crucially, overcoming obstacles. This list becomes your future fuel. Whenever you face a challenge, you can reach into your cookie jar of past triumphs to remind yourself of your strength and motivate you to push harder. The author emphasizes that one of the most important things you can do is to visualize the obstacles that will inevitably stand in your way. To train yourself to visualize success, you need to follow two crucial steps. First, create a clear mental image of the challenge you need to overcome. Second, anticipate the difficulties you'll face, and then create a preliminary plan to address each one. This is precisely what Goggins did while recovering from the injuries and fractures sustained during his Special Forces training. During those periods of intense self-doubt, he'd visualizing success is a powerful catalyst that keeps you focused on your ultimate goal. Humans are often so terrified of failure that they prevent themselves from even trying. Goggins argues you must view your failures as invaluable opportunities to learn something new. This perspective makes the things you fear seem far less dangerous. Once you achieve a goal you previously deemed impossible, you begin a cycle of continuous self-development. To truly change your perspective on failure, Goggins advises two powerful steps. First, reflect on your most recent failure. Second, use your journal to ask yourself 5 critical questions that help you evaluate that experience. What did I do well to prepare? How did I deal with the failure itself? How did this failure affect my relationships with others? How did it impact my life? And most importantly, how can I deal with failure differently next time? David Goggins didn't just survive his past, he weaponized it. His story is a raw, unflinching testament to the power of the human spirit. It proves that no matter where you started, no matter the cards you were dealt, you possess the incredible capacity to master your mind, conquer your circumstances, and become truly unstoppable. What will your next chapter look like?